The subject of friendship is, to me, very fascinating. I mean by that, it's just extremely interesting. For example, on one end of the friendship spectrum, you might say a friend is someone who pats you on the back. On the other end of the friendship spectrum are those who stab you in the back. All of which is to say that there are types of friends. I wonder how you would classify friends. I don't know where I got this. It was in my notes somewhere. But somebody has suggested that one type of friend is a historical friend. That is somebody who's been a friend for a very long time. I know people who are older who've had friends way back to elementary school, and so do you. There is a second kind of friendship that has been called the stage of life friend. That is, at one stage in your life you develop a friendship, but after you move past that stage, you lose those friends. Think college is an illustration, or maybe even high school, that you had friends there that didn't carry on through the rest of your life. And then someone has suggested there's common interest friends. That is, you have friends because you have a common interest. Maybe you belong to the same club, or maybe the yoga class or something, and so you develop a friendship over that common interest. At any rate, it is apparent that there are different kinds of friends. Now, as you know, we've been going through the book of Proverbs, and I have talked about a number of virtues in Proverbs, and the other subject that there's a lot of topics on in the book of Proverbs is the subject of relationships. I've talked about parents and children recently, but there's also the subject of friends. So what I'd like to do today is discuss, in part at least, what the book of Proverbs says about friends. It says so much about it that I'm going to speak on this today and in the next session as well. Today, what I want to do is begin by just defining the word friend, and then I want to talk about two different kinds of friends. Some friends are dangerous, and some friends are just a delight. And then I want to, in this session, talk about the benefits of friendship. So there are four issues here: the definition, dangerous friends, delightful friends, and the benefits of having a loyal friend. At any rate, let's begin by talking about the definition of friend or friendship. In the book of Proverbs, there are three different words that are used for friend. One of them means simply a companion or an intimate, and it's used 33 times in the book of Proverbs. Sometimes that particular Hebrew word is translated neighbor. A second Hebrew word means love, and it appears 27 times in the book of Proverbs. A third word means intimate, and it only appears 3 times. Now, I'm not sure how legitimate this is, but if I were going to put all 3 of those together, I'm not sure how scholarly that is. I just thought it might be interesting. I think I would define a friend based on the 3 words put together as a friend is an intimate companion who loves you. Then I thought, well, I wonder what the English word friend means. So I Googled it, and the English dictionary says that it is a bond of mutual affection apart from family or sex. That's the English definition. So I thought it was interesting that even the English word implies affection, and one of the Hebrew words clearly indicates that there's a love relationship in the nature of being a friend. Aristotle is supposed to have said that friendship is one soul residing in 2 bodies. I love it. That's a great way to describe a real intimate relationship. One of the Native American languages has a word for friend that means one who carries my sorrows on his back. But one of my favorite little sayings concerning friendship is reported to have come from C.S. Lewis. Nowhere in his writings did he ever say this, and there are some others who have, so it probably didn't come from him, but it's often attributed to him. At any rate, it's of value by itself, regardless of who originally said it, and it goes like this. A friend is someone who knows the song in your heart and can sing it back to you when you have forgotten the words. I love that one. Let me give it again. That one's so good. A friend is someone who knows the song in your heart and can sing it back to you when you have forgotten the words. That is a friend. All right. The definition is simply a relationship in which there is some mutual affection. Maybe that's the simplest way to put it, and that surely zeroes in on the essence of friendship. It's not family, it's not a distant neighbor, it's a mutual affection. There's an intimacy, a companionship between two people. They call themselves friends. But I started out saying it is obvious that there are different kinds of friends. So what I've done is this. I took all the Proverbs that relate to friends and sorted them out, and then tried to organize them. And when I did, it seems to me that there are some of the Proverbs relating to friendship that are saying, in essence, some friends can be dangerous. Now, before I give you the Proverbs related to that, I want to explain that when I use the word dangerous, I think that's on a sliding scale. That in some cases, it's only a small danger. And on the other end of that sliding scale, perhaps it could be more severe. But I've chosen the word dangerous because one way or another, they can do damage to you, even though you consider them a friend. So with that in mind, let's look at types of friends that I'm going to call dangerous friends. So look at Proverbs 27, verse 14. Proverbs 27, verse 14. He who blesses his friend with a loud voice, rising early in the morning, it will be counted a curse to him. This is an interesting little proverb. Obviously, it's talking about a friend, and it says your friend is going to bless you. Only he's going to do it with a loud voice, and he's going to do it early in the morning. And as far as you are concerned, it's going to be more of a curse than a blessing. So this particular kind of friend I'm going to call annoying. Do you have any friends that are annoying? I have had some friends that were annoying. Now, what do you have to do to be an annoying friend? Some who grapple with this proverb suggest that the idea here is the friend is inappropriate. He's loud and he comes and does it early in the morning. You ever had a friend like that? Before there were iPhones or cell phones or whatever, and we just had phones, there used to be an unwritten social etiquette that you didn't call somebody before a certain hour in the morning or after a certain hour at night. Do you remember those days? You are showing your age. Now, I've asked several people what that magic number is, and I've gotten several answers. Some say, well, it was before 8 in the morning. And some say, no, you didn't call anybody before 9 in the morning. The consensus seems to be that you don't call after 9 at night. That's the most common answer I got. Well, with the advent of a cell phone, some friends of mine find something and they text me at all kinds of crazy hours. So do you have a friend like that? Have you gotten text before 8 in the morning? Have you gotten text after 9 at night? Some of you are shaking, bobbing your heads, yeah. As a matter of fact, in my case, I don't even leave the phone anymore beside my bed. Now, if it's an emergency, I guess I'm going to have a problem. I'm not going to find out it. But I get up fairly early. But they're friends, and they mean well. It's just that's an annoying friend. Some suggest that this is a reference to a selfish friend, that they are blessing you, they think, but they're really more selfish. As a matter of fact, C.S. Lewis has said, and this time it does come from him, people who bore one another should meet seldom. People who interest one another often. And that, I suggest, is what you do with irritating friends, those annoying friends that are inappropriate and sometimes just downright selfish. All right. When I say they're dangerous, I said that one's not real dangerous. I can do a little damage, but that's not very significant as compared to the other damage. But a second type I'm going to call a tattletale, and this one does more damage and is more dangerous. There are two proverbs that talk about this. One is Proverbs 17:9. Proverbs 17:9 says, "He who covers a transgression seeks love, but he who repeats a matter separates friends." Interesting. Proverbs 17:9. If you cover a transgression, you seek love, but to repeat a matter, you're a tattletale. If you're a tattletale, that can be serious. That can be damaging. It could separate friends. So there is the kind of friend who covers a transgression. Peter says love covers a multitude of sins. I had a fellow once say that a good friend was someone who always presented you in the best light. On the other hand, there are those who go around telling all your secrets. So they are the tattletales. They repeat a matter, and it alienates friends. So these are the ones that I suggest are dangerous. There's a second proverb that talks about this kind of person, and it's in 16:28. It says, "A perverse man sows strife, and a whisperer separates the best of friends." We're again talking about a tattletale, a busybody. What is interesting, and in this series I've pointed this out before, 1 Peter 4:15 lumps a busybody with murderers and thieves. There are just 3 sins in that verse, and one is a murderer, one is a thief, and one is a busybody. So that's what God thinks of a busybody. So there's a tattletale that can do damage to you. Not a very good friend, but a tattletale can actually separate the best of friends, which is an interesting little observation. So be careful what you say about your friends behind their back. What you say could destroy your friendship. As a matter of fact, someone has said, friendship is like a book. It takes years to write and only a few minutes to burn. So be careful what you say about your friend. A third kind of dangerous friend I'm going to call the fickle friend. Look at Proverbs 14:20. Proverbs 14:20 says, "The poor man is hated even by his own neighbor, but the rich has many friends." Now, this is someone who is going to make friends because you're rich, and they don't make friends out of poor people. Now, I must remind you, we're talking about Proverbs, and Proverbs are not laws. They're general truths. They're not universal truths. And they have exceptions. And this is a great illustration of that. Ruth made friends and stuck by Naomi, who at that point in her life was poverty-stricken. So this is not a law. However, there are people who are going to make friends if you're rich. So the friendship is based on some selfish interest. They're not friends with poor people. They want to be friends with rich people or people of influence. So they avoid the poor and cultivate the rich. If you're rich or have influence or position, then you need to beware. It's hard to know when those kind of friends come along, so all I can say to you is beware. The ancient author Cicero said, quote, "People are like swallows who fly off during the winter and quit our cold climate and do not return until the warm season, but as soon as the winter sets in, they're off again." We call those fair weather friends. They're not consistent. They are fickle. Another ancient author says, "As long as you are prosperous, you have many friends. But who of them will regard you when you lose your wealth?" Again, the idea is they're fickle. One more, and this gets real serious. Look at Proverbs 12:26. I'm talking about dangerous friends. Some are just annoying. That can do just a small amount of damage. Some are tattletales. Some are fickle. That gets more serious. But this is the most serious of all. 12:26 says, "The righteous should choose his friends carefully, for the way of the wicked leads them astray." Please put a star by this one, especially if you are a parent. Note, and note it well, Proverbs 12:26 says, "The righteous should choose their friends carefully." I think every parent with children still at home should make their children memorize this verse. And you need, the earlier the better. Do not wait until they're teenagers. It's too late. You need to instill this in them before they become teenagers. I think especially in our culture, peers can have more power over people than parents. So it is imperative that parents teach their children, choose your friends carefully. Now, I think it applies to adults as well as children. I just think that this is super important. The wrong friends can do you a great deal of damage. And that's my point. They're dangerous. Sometimes the danger is only small. It may be an irritation, but they can bust up friendships. They're that dangerous. But this is the most dangerous of all, because it says they may lead you astray. The wicked may lead you astray. So if you choose a friend, now notice it says the righteous should be careful in choosing their friend. But if you choose a friend who's a wicked person, be careful. That person can lead you astray, and it's that person who can do you great damage. So be careful about choosing your friends. You can be in the wrong group of friends and get hurt by just being part of that group, because they can lead you astray. A farmer had a parrot. The parrot decided to to go out on its own. And it took up with a group of crows. And the crows were destroying this farmer's crops. So he took his shotgun out to shoot the crows. And in the process, he wounded the parrot. So as he was picking up the dead crows, he came across the wounded parrot. And the parrot said, "Bad company, bad company, bad company." Now that's what this proverb is saying. Choose your friends carefully. You don't want to get with a bunch of crows that get shot at. That is dangerous. Now, I've been going through the book of Proverbs, and every once in a while I come upon a subject that is so large that I break it up into two parts. I've done that several times. I'm going to have to do that again. There's so much the book of Proverbs says about this particular subject that in the next session, I'm going to speak exclusively about people you should not be friends with. I really think this is important, especially for teenagers. So if you have a teenager, do whatever you have to do. Bribe them to listen to next week's message. This is really important stuff. Friends can really harm you. Now, by the way, I've referred to other topics we've gone through. Maybe I should say at this point, all the subjects I've covered, and by the way, we're nowhere near done. I think we've covered somewhere near 50 subjects, and I don't know, we got a few more to go. But they're all online on the church website. They're audio and there's video, and you can download them. You can download them and listen to them on your iPhone in the car or something, or you can sit by your computer and look at me while I'm telling you all of this. So they're on video as well as audio. But I think it's important for children especially, and especially for, in particular, teenagers, that you understand what the Scripture says about choose your friends carefully. And next week I'm going to go into that in even more detail. But for now, I am suggesting that some friends are dangerous, and some are just annoying, but some can lead you astray, or they can break up the best of friendship. That's really damaging. There's a second kind of friend. I took some of these proverbs that all talk about friendship, and I categorized them under what I'm going to call delightful friends. Some friends are just delightful. Now let me describe a couple of those. Look at Proverbs 27 verse 9. Proverbs 27 verse 9 says, "Ointment and perfume delight the heart, and the sweetness of a man's friend gives delight by the hearty counsel." Now, this verse is clearly talking about delight. So I'm just going to call this kind of friend a delightful friend. The word delight means, in this case, to rejoice or be glad. When you have that kind of a friend, it just brings joy to your heart. It is a delight to interact with that kind of a person. In this case, it uses as an illustration an ointment or a perfume that gladdens the heart. So the loving advice of a friend rejoices the heart. There is something truly heartwarming about fellowship with a friend. And all of us have experienced that. As you know, one of the hallmarks of our church is we have lunch together. And the coronavirus has sort of put the kibosh on that. But however, we have, never mind, but some of us have eaten together afterwards. Is that? And by the way, we do it outside, so that's legal, right? Okay. Whew. Anyway, recently somebody said to me, "I really enjoyed the lunchtime." Now the sermon was good, but and I thought to myself, that is exactly right. That's what church ought to be. They ate together. As a matter of fact, in the New Testament, they met once a week and had a meal together. There is something about eating together that just can't be replaced by anything else. Certainly not video or live streaming. So, and even just being together, it's eating together. There's something about that just brings a delight to your heart. And frankly, I've experienced it on those Sundays when we, after the service. It's great, isn't it? Absolutely. One commentator says, quote, "This is especially felt in times of trouble and in the seasons of difficulty and perplexity, when the heart is heavy and depressed and the mind troubled with conflicting and distracting thoughts. How soothing is the counsel of an affectionate friend. How does it sweeten the embittered and settles the agitated spirit." Amen. There is just something delightful about a dear friend. And all of us have experienced that. I would put in this category an honest friend. Look at Proverbs 27, verse 6. "Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful." The kisses of an enemy? It's an odd expression. You mean an enemy kisses you? Well, the whole point of this has to do with friends. So there is a friend who kisses you, but who's no friend at all. He or she is really an enemy. So the verse is talking about friends. And there is a friend who kisses, but who is an enemy. There is an interesting verse in 2 Samuel chapter 20. And it goes like this. Kisses can be deceptive. "There was a fella named Joab who took Amasa by the beard with his right hand and kissed him. But what the fella that received the kiss didn't notice was the sword in Joab's hand, and he thrust it through his stomach. His insides poured out on the ground, and he died." Interesting. He kissed him and then slew him with a sword. Do we know anybody like that? The classic in all of history has got to be Judas. Let me tell you about that. Matthew 26, verses 48 and 49 say this. "Now his betrayer had given him a sign, saying, 'Whoever I kiss, he is the one, seize him.' Immediately he went up to Jesus and said, 'Greetings, Rabbi,' and kissed him." Now the word kiss appears twice in these two verses. The first time it appears, it means to kiss. It simply means to kiss. The second time it appears, it's the word kiss, but it's it's a compound form of that word, and it means to kiss fervently and affectionately. So he said to the people who were going to arrest Jesus, "Whoever I kiss, he's the one." And then he went and affectionately and passionately kissed Jesus. As a matter of fact, one commentator says, it was the words of the lover's kiss, and it means to kiss repeatedly, passionately, and fervently. And as you know, he was no friend at all. He was the betrayer and the enemy. So this proverb says, a friend can kiss you and turn around and betray you. That's the kiss of death. That's the kiss of an enemy. But in contrast to that, the faithful are the wounds of a friend. So even a good friend can wound you. Now that's different than kissing you and killing you, but a good friend may wound you, but notice it says, faithful are the wounds. That's very interesting. The word faithful means trusted, reliable. Those kind of wounds are good wounds. So a friend, and by the way, this is the Hebrew word of someone who loves you. Someone can genuinely love you and wound you by telling you the truth. And that is what this verse is talking about. So there can be constructive criticism of a friend who genuinely loves you, and it may sting like a bruise, but what is said is to benefit you, not harm or hurt you. So I'm calling this an honest friend. Have you ever had an honest friend tell you something you didn't want to hear, but you knew in your gut, he's right, she's right, I should have listened to that? Well, those are delightful friends. They're not enemies. Enemies can kiss and kill, but a faithful friend gives faithful advice. It can sting, but that's good. That's good. That's not going to hurt you. Another proverb says something similar in 27:11. It says, "He who loves purity of heart and has grace on his lips, the king will be his friend." 27:11. Interesting. People who have pure motives and who speak with grace are the kinds of friends that a king wants. It's the kind of friend we all want. They may speak kindly, but they're going to be honest and tell you the truth. Those are the kind of friends that are the best friends. There's a third category of what I'm calling delightful friends. They're not only delightful, they're not only honest, they are loyal. Look at Proverbs 18:24. Proverbs 18:24. It says, "A man who has friends must himself be friendly. But there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother." I am very familiar with this proverb. I think I've heard it all my Christian life. It gets quoted a lot. If you want to have friends, you got to be friendly, right? That isn't exactly what that proverb means, the first part of that proverb. It's interpreted two different ways. One is the way it's translated here. And the idea is that friendliness wins friends, but some friends stay closer than a brother. That's the translation given in the King James Version and in the New King James Version. And it's supported by a number of commentators who think that's the idea. The problem is, there's another interpretation that's more closely reflects the Hebrew text. And that interpretation seems to be saying, it is better to have one loyal friend than many friends who will lead you astray. I say, how in the world did you get that out of he who has friends must himself be friendly? And the answer is that the word friend, this particular word friend, means to break. And in the Hebrew text, there is a play on words in the first part of that verse. So the idea is there's a contrast in the verse between a fair weather friend and one who's loyal through thick and thin. But I've been dealing with the first part of that verse, who's the fair weather friend, who can break you. So let me go back to that before I go to the second part of the verse. That play on words is the idea that friends can break you and bring you to ruin. They can lead you astray. Thus the proverb is saying those who have numerous friends, notice it's in the plural, they have numerous friends chosen indiscriminately may find themselves in trouble. And keep in mind the Hebrew word has that little nuance of break. So you can have friends who can break you. That's sort of the idea of the Hebrew text. Now, I'm talking primarily about the second part of that proverb. And all are agreed on the interpretation of the second part. In some cases, genuine friends can be more attractive and attentive than a natural brother. That is to say, it is not to say that a natural brother can't be a friend, but it is to say that there are friends that stick closer than a brother. Matter of fact, the idea seems to be that a friend loves at all times and a brother is born of adversity. So a brother can be just as loyal as a friend, but some have suggested in this case he may not be close. He may live in a different city. And therefore the friend who is close is better than a brother who is far. Proverbs 17:9 says, "He who covers a transgression seeks love, but he who repeats a matter separates friends." I've already mentioned that, but this is a case where you might get hurt in the first part of that verse. So, the point I want to emphasize is that there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. If you take that on its face value, I have a hard time accepting it because my brother is my dearest friend. And while I have some other good friends, it's not like my brother. So I have a hard time accepting that at face value. So I kind of like the interpretation that a friend who is near may be better than a brother who is far. But with a cell phone, that's not a problem. We talk all the time. And unlimited is great. So, the point is, there can be a loyal friend who sticks close, who's with you through thick and thin. One woman said, "Don't you remember the mean things that she said about you?" And the other woman replied, I not only don't remember, I distinctly remember forgetting." That is a loyal friend. George Washington Carver was refused admission to a college simply because he was black. Years later, when someone asked him for the name of the college, he said, "It doesn't matter." That's the kind of attitude we need to have. Dale Carnegie observed that we can make more friends in 2 months by showing interest in others than we can in 2 years by trying to get others to be interested in us. Or as one small boy defined a friend as someone who knows all about you and likes you anyway. That is a loyal friend. But this, of all the things I dug up on friendship, is my favorite. M.R. DeHaan said, "If you really want to know who your friends are, just make a mistake." Boy, isn't that true? Now, some want to apply this to the Lord because the New Testament says He is our friend, and I grant you that's true, but I don't think that's the primary point of this proverb. At any rate, there are friends that can be dangerous, and then there are friends that can just be delightful. Just their friendship is delightful. Not to mention the fact that they can be honest with you, and though that may sting, that's still a good friend. But most of all, they're loyal through thick and thin. Now, I want to say one more thing about friends. And that is, if you have or are a good, delightful, loyal, honest friend, that is an enormous benefit. So I want to talk about the benefits of friends. Look at Proverbs 27:17. It says, "As iron sharpens iron, so a man's sharpened the countenance of his friend." As iron sharpens iron. So friends sharpen each other. Now this verse says countenance, And some say the countenance refers to the face, which the word countenance obviously does. And they would interpret this to say the fellowship between friends promotes intellectual activities that puts a smile on your face. Others say that the word countenance here is being used figuratively of just your personality or of your person, with not any particular reference just to the face, so that two minds thus acting on each other become sharper. And I frankly prefer that interpretation. People can help each other improve through their discussions, through their suggestions, through their ideas, and even through their constructive criticism, that we sharpen each other. I have a pastor friend who uses this verse all the time and refers to it. Iron sharpens iron. Man was not made for solitary confinement, but for society. It is only as a social being that his powers of affection are fully expanded. Dennis Prager talked about friends once, and here's what he said. You need friends to be happy. It's an interesting thought. If you keep losing your friends by getting rid of them, it is either because something is wrong with your ability to choose friends or you're too sensitive. Friends are a reflection of your character. If you want to see what your face looks like, look in a mirror. If you want to see what your mind is like, write. Your friends reveal your character. I love that. That is a profound thought. Think about that. He also says the definition of a friend is that which it is someone you can open up to. The biggest obstacle to having close friends is you don't open up. If you can't open up, that means you're hiding. You're a better person because you have this. Are you a better person because you have this person in your life? Are you happy to be in the company of that person? Or does that person bring you down? The point is, there are benefits to having friends. And one is that if you have a good friend, it sharpens you. It makes you a better person. There's another proverb that says something similar. Look at Proverbs 27:19. Do not forsake your friends or your father's friends, nor go to your brother's house in the day of your calamity. Better is a neighbor nearby than a brother far away. So the point again is, do not forsake your personal friends, nor your family's friends. Why? Because there's going to come a day of tragedy, and you're going to need a friend. So don't forsake your friends. Keep them close. Some commentators want to say that the brother far away is far away in feeling. And he keeps himself at a distance. He's far away in affection, which is an interesting twist on this verse. A young man wrote to his father and said, Dear Father, I'm in the city, am broke, and have no friends. What shall I do? And the father wrote back, Dear son, make friends quick. You need friends when there's a time of trouble. Shakespeare said, words are easy like the wind. Faithful friends are hard to find. Thomas Aquinas said, there is nothing on earth more to be prized than true friendship. Boy, put that in your pocket. And that's my point. There's huge benefits to friends, especially in a time of trouble. And as Thomas Aquinas said, there's nothing on this earth more to be prized than true friendship. And I concur with that. Another has observed that a friend is the first one to come in when the whole world goes out. Ouch. All right, how are we doing? Have you gotten the message? Let me sum up what I've said thus far and wrap it up. The wrong kind of friend can be harmful and hurtful, but the right kind of friend can be helpful. Is that saying the obvious? And by the wrong kind of friend, I mean the ones who are annoying, tattletales, fickle, or wicked. And by the ones that are good friends, the right kind of friends, I mean honest and loyal, just delight to be with and fellowship with. But the point of all of this is you need to be that kind of a friend and to cultivate those kind of friends. You need friends. You don't have to have many, but you need some. Years ago, when I was teaching, on the faculty was a Christian psychiatrist, Paul Meyer. And he said to me one day, everybody needs two close friends. One of the opposite sex, hopefully your mate, and one of the same sex. You need at least one good, close friend. And if you have more, you are blessed indeed. You are benefited. So cultivate those friendships and be the kind of friend you want your friend to be to you. A lady wrote a book entitled Friendship. And another lady wrote a review of that book that was published in the Wall Street Journal. The reviewer summarized what that book says, and it really said some things about the benefit of friendship that I'd really never thought of. I'm going to quote parts of that article. For many of us, the top of our life priority list might look something like this: family, work, and maybe exercise. Time with friends can sometimes end up near the bottom. That is a mistake. He goes on to say that this lady that wrote the book interviewed animal biologist, anthropologist, and neuroscientist to uncover just how important friendship is, not only for happiness and emotional health, but, she argues, for physical health. In fact, friends are the key to our very survival, this author asserts. Friendship literally improves your body's cardiovascular function, how your immune system works, and how you sleep. You can imagine the food that you put in your body makes you healthy or not. But sitting in a coffee shop with someone just chatting about what's going on in your life, we all always thought emotionally that made us feel good. But actually, it really is doing much more. A big study at Harvard of men whose lives from 20 to 80 found that the single best predictor of your health and happiness was not your wealth or your professional success, it was your relationships at age 50. Wow. Be a good friend and develop the kind of friend that will be a good friend to somebody else. You will be better off. Father, thank you for being not only our Savior, but our friend, and giving us the instruction on what we should do to be friends to others. So, Lord, I pray that you would teach us to be good friends and cultivate good friendship. In Jesus' name, amen.